beginning of lockdown, I was quite distraught at what was going on around our country with how people were being abused by the National Defence Force as well as the police service. To the point where there were some nights that I would cry as I was falling asleep, because this sort of injustice is just something that we should not be tolerating in 2020 South Africa. And then the Black Lives Matter happened in the US, and our president Cyril Rama-Poser could very clearly and proudly say the name George Floyd. However, there are quite a few names that he has not said, and they are his own subjects in his own country, his own citizens that he so proudly calls his fellow South Africans. But he has not shown any morsel of respect for these citizens. So I am saying their names. Today I'm going to introduce you to 4 lives that were lost in South Africa. Granted, one of them is not a South African citizen. However, he was killed by South African police. Say their names. Adane Emmanuel is an Ethiopian citizen who ran an informal shop in Isipingo. He was accused by police of selling cigarettes, a claim which he denied. Their response to his denial was to beat him up, arrest him, throw him in a cell, and then release him a couple of hours later on bail. He went to a hospital because he was gravely injured by the police, and there he succumbed to his injuries. Adane Emmanuel died because the police were brutal towards him and accused him of something that he denied. Cyril was murdered by SANDF officers because he had a camping chair and an unfinished alcoholic beverage in his garden when they came inspecting or patrolling, whatever you like to call it. I personally call it terrorizing the citizens of this country. According to witnesses, his family, he was assaulted severely, smashed into a metal gate and a wall. He had quite severe injuries that he succumbed to. And the SANDF officers were cleared by an internal investigation, citing that he had been disrespectful because they were female. So actually this was a gender-based violence problem, and that men need to stop being disrespectful to female officers. This is absolute hogwash in my opinion. Those officers quite clearly had weapons on them, and Collins Khosa was only saying that he was not breaking the law by having a drink in his own garden. Drinking in your own garden, even under lockdown, is not illegal. From what I can gather, Petrus Michels was picked up by police for walking around during lockdown. I'm not sure if he was actually contravening lockdown regulations or if he was maybe walking to a shop, which is perfectly legal under lockdown. However, he was picked up by police and then driven around. It's not very clear what might have happened to him whilst he was in police custody. I call this being abducted by the police. He was then dropped back off near to where they picked him up, and he managed to find his way home. Unfortunately, he died at home as a result of injuries that he sustained whilst in police custody. Petrus Michels' death was totally unnecessary, and I really hope that justice is served in this case. Sibusiso Amos was drinking at a shebeen during lockdown, and a number of private security forces as well as the police force and JMPD officers attended the scene and dispersed all the people that were drinking at the shebeen, and Sibusiso Amos was then shot on the veranda of his home, although I'm not quite sure who actually shot him. Now, if you're one of the people that says, oh, well, he was breaking lockdown regulations because he was drinking at a shebeen and, you know, that's against the law. If you're one of those people, please do not subscribe to my channel. Do not watch any of my content, because if you believe that somebody deserves to die simply for contravening a lockdown regulation, then you, my friend, are the problem with everything. Everything that is wrong in the world starts with that type of mentality, because nobody deserves to die simply for breaking down an arbitrary regulation that has been put in place by the National Corona Command Council. Nobody deserves to die simply for socializing. Sure, fine them, maybe a short stint in prison. But you know, we actually have a thing such as a Bill of Rights in South Africa, and every South African has, every person in this country has the right to life. This man did not deserve to die simply because he broke a lockdown regulation. I sincerely hope that justice is served in this case. Sibusiso Amos, Petrus Michels, Adani Emmanuel and Collins Kosa are just 4 of the men that were killed by either SANDF or South African Police Service since the beginning of lockdown. We have a severe case of police brutality going on in our own country. Black Lives Matter in the United States is not our issue. It is not our problem. It is not for us to get involved in. We need to address this severe overreach and the so-called over-enthusiasticness, in the words of Cyril Rama-Poser, of our own police force and of our own National Defence Force. Say their names: Petrus Michels, Sibusiso Amos, Collins Kosa, and Adani Emmanuel. Only 4 of the 11 that I know of that have been killed in the period of lockdown, and I'm sure that there's probably going to be more. Say their names.